And figuring out what your resources are so important.
That is important.
So, you know, figuring out if you're going to a university, what are the resources there? What's free? There's timelines usually on free things, or there's limitations on those things. So, you know, is there a laptop program? Is there a tutoring program? Figuring out where those resources are. Is there a program for, you know, disadvantaged youth or students of color or whatever demographic you fit in? Is there a program to support students like me? Where do I get advising? Like, all those things, so you're not wasting time knowing because you didn't know the right thing, because you didn't ask the right questions. I never was shy about, you know, meeting people. Networking is so important too. So getting a part of professional organizations. So it doesn't matter if you want to be an engineer, vocalist, whatever, you know, getting in the scene. So as a musician, that's gigging. As, you know, if you're in a professional organization, it's networking and going to events, it's doing internships. Because the piece of paper, I like to use an analogy when I'm with students. So if you're in a gated community, right?
Yes.
And you're driving, there's usually that person at the gate, right, that asks your name, and then there's that, you know, that gate that you pass on the second level, right? So first of all, if the guy recognizes you, if he knows you, he's going to let you in, right?
Right.
So there's that level, but then that paper, that diploma, is what gets you into that other gate. So you gotta have the piece of paper, but you also have to know people to get you to that level in that area. So, yeah, network and handle your business. Grades are important. You know, handle your business in school. The better your grades are, the more scholarship money that institutions are going to be giving you. The less, which means less debt for you. So that's important. It shows your discipline as a student as well. I am an admissions counselor at an arts institution. I can have an amazingly talented student, but if your GPA is really bad, it's going to be hard for me to make a case for you. And also you're going to get less money from us.
Oh, yes, that too. Money is important.
So, yeah.
What about, what did you just go straight into college, or?
I did.
Why did you go straight into college? Because you could have had a year off to...
Not in my household. If I have a year off, I would have been homeless. No, my parents didn't play that. My parents are very old school. Yes. Like I said, they weren't necessarily supportive of me being an artist, but they were definitely serious about school. I was the first in my family to go to college. So my parents were very supportive, but it was a lot I learned through mentorship, because my parents, even though they wanted to help me, didn't know certain things. But they were not playing any games.
I see that.
And going to OSA, I had the grades, and going to OSA, you know, we graduated with, you know, all of our A through G requirements, and, you know, I had the ability to go to school. So it was no excuse, really.
Not to,
unless I wanted to be homeless. And because my parents were not going to house me if
I
wasn't doing something.
I can relate. That's relatable. That's relatable for sure. In dancing, we know you dance. What made you did not go to like a what am I trying to ask you? Why didn't you go straight into like a dance?
Well, I mentioned I got injured.
Oh, yeah.
I got injured, and between the injury and the lack of financial support from my parents, those things combined wasn't going to make that possible for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
With the decline of dancers and music videos, where can people get income being a dancer, and how to make money when being a dancer?
So I'm not a dancer anymore. I focus in music, but
strictly music.
I still dance for my own enjoyment, but I don't dance professionally.
Oh, okay.
Music is my focus. I always loved music. I just had a really bad stage fright when I came here. I actually auditioned for music and for dance, and ended up doing dance because that's where my comfort was, because I had more training in dance. But I would say in any of the arts, I'll try to keep it broad so that people can make this applicable. You are an entrepreneur, or as I like to say, an artrepreneur.
Okay.
Whether you want to believe that or not, if you're going to be in the creative industry, you are usually making multiple streams of income. So you're not usually doing just one thing. You might be, if you're a dancer, for example, you might be teaching at a studio while you're also dancing with a company, or you might be, you know, doing commercial work, or as a you know, musician, you're doing, you know, studio work. You could be on tour. There's a multitude of things, and also teaching is always a great steady income. 100% of our faculty, to teach at our institution, you have to be an artist in your field. And, you know, let's be real, they're artists 100% of the time. That UArts paycheck is steady income, because being an artist, there's ebbs and flows, there's highs and lows. Exactly. And so what I would say is just being educated about your industry. One thing we do at UArts in the dance program is they have which is actually number 4 in the nation, by the way.
Okay.
Wow.
But we have a series called Knowing Dance, where people from all over the world come and do workshops on, what they do in the dance industry, so that they understand the plethora of opportunities available to them. It just doesn't have to be, I'm, going to dance for a dance company, because that, dance, I think, out of all the arts is the most, rigorous on the body, and it's the most short-lived career.
Very.
So you really want to be able to know what's life after, dancing for a company. Or there could be other things you can do. There's so many things. And it's just doing the research and the homework. Know your industry.
Exactly.
Know what options are available in your industry. Don't just look at the main, the 1 or 2, most popular things to do. Read documentaries. Read documentaries. Read, the autobiographical novels or stories of artists. Look on YouTube and
knowing your craft.
Look up documentaries. See how other people did, what they did, and doing your research, knowing your craft, because there's so many opportunities. But being a hustler and entrepreneur, knowing the business is really important. Understanding contracts in every industry, because royalties are nice.
I see.
And then I guess I want to personally ask, because you mentioned being a woman of color and also queer. When it gets to the point where you hear those extremely mean comments, or people are just they're just against you just because, what do you tell yourself, or what do you do? What advice would you give to people who have the same stuff as you, to keep going and to just have hope and faith? And
I would say it was never overt in a professional setting, because of HR, human resources. People are worried about lawsuits, so it's always going to be. It's never going to be overt unless they're really stupid.
Yes.
It's always going to be covert little things. So it's not, and if they do anything overt, baby, go to HR and do a lawsuit.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Get paid.
I will.
Okay. But there's also politics in that. So understanding when to do that is important too. Because I've had, I'll just be real, men advance at me who are superiors. And it's like, you need to know. I shut that down in a very professional way. It's also, my mom put me on game to wear a wedding ring so that I could just, flip that and men wouldn't,
Your mom was smart.
Very
smart.
So there's things, but, there's, you can report to human resources, but in the industry, in the music industry, I'll give a perfect example. There's no HR when I'm, in jam sessions, but men on a regular basis, there's a kind of, let me back up a little bit. When I lived in Tampa, there was a gentleman who put me under his wing, kind of as his, I won't say granddaughter, but he put me up on game. And he was like, you need to know something. These men think vocalists are just putting it out there. So there was this norm, or this notion that, I would just put it out because I'm a vocalist, because if I want to work with you, that's what I would do. And that wasn't me, and I wasn't playing those games.
Exactly.
So I would put men in check real quick. There's some artists that when they see me, they walk because I've cussed them out, pardon me. But, I put them in their place when they've been overtly disrespectful, to let them know, like, no, I'm not that one. You're not going to do this to me. And I'm not saying to cuss people out, that's not professional. But, it was that blatant and disrespectful the way he came at me, so that's what he got. That the Oakland came out of me. But
she said the Oakland came.
But you have to just I would say go the high road, lift your head up high, know those people aren't in your circle. You keep your tribe tight, and you're gonna deal with people, ignorant people. Usually they're gonna be they're not gonna be overt with it. Sometimes they are overt with it. It is what it is. That's their ignorance. You can't let that stop you. If anything, it fuels me. It helps my art. It helps me create, because art is emotion. And so taking that and doing something with it, create and keep doing you. You can't change them. That's their issues.
Thank you. And then last question for today. If you could give advice to the younger you, what would you say? Just one piece of advice.
Ooh, just one?
Something that really speaks to you.
Like when you're near your deepest, darkest moment and you thought there was
I would just continue. There's a quote from Maya Angelou. I'm paraphrasing, but I would just keep on resonating that in my spirit as a younger person. It says, do what you love so well that people cannot take their eyes off of you. All
I heard
tangible
of that.
things shall follow.
Mm-hmm.
And if I knew that, because it took me a while to step into myself, to have the confidence and the bravery, the courage to take a leap of faith, to do what I always knew was in me. Because I always had fear of failing. I always had fear of, my parents are very practical and old school, so paying my bills, doing this and that. But no one else lived my life for me but me. And life is fragile. You know, it could be gone at any minute. In 2011 and 2012, I almost died twice.
Wow.
And so I was hit by a truck in 2011, and in 2012, I had a MAC 10 to my head. I was robbed at gunpoint.
Mm.
And the shooter almost shot us. Or the gunman rather almost shot us. So that also put a lot of things in perspective about my mortality. I think when you're young, you have this false perception of your mortality. You think you're going to live forever, and that's not the case. So, you know, living your truth, be in alignment with yourself, and that Maya Angelou, you know, quote, I keep them, you know, my wall. It's yeah.
Well, we want to thank you for joining us here on OSA Reloaded, and we wish you so much continued success.
Thank you.
And until next time, I'm Najea Buford.
And I'm Himeros for 98.9 KOSA,
where
minds, words, music, and rhymes meet.
Hey.